So recently we've seen, again, some of the bigger, or maybe they're outcasts from the bigger brewers, but folks who are, you know, from the macro brew end of it, to call it that, who are trying to get into craft. You know, what do you think of that? Is that a risk for the category, or is that also something that helps kind of grow the greater category?
How exactly should I answer that? Well, no matter what I say on camera, I can tell you what I say off camera is not exceedingly polite.
Okay.
But I'm going to try and be polite. I'm going to have to pick my words a little bit carefully here because I am inside the industry and, you know, I have responsibilities to be responsible with my statements. But let me just say this. If you're making a craft beer, this is actually a pretty easy way to break it down. If you're making a craft beer, and I'll say it to the camera, if you're making a craft beer, do it like you fucking mean it. No poser bullshit and, oh, we're gonna appeal to some people that don't know the difference, and so that's why we're gonna split the baby and we're gonna do something that's mediocre. But frankly, you know, I don't want to point fingers at any companies, but a lot of companies who are trying to get into the craft but don't believe in it, or just trying to capture some market share, they approach it from a perspective of, well, we're just going to try and get people what they want. You ask people what they want, they don't have any stinking idea, because people don't know what they want, because people on average don't have good taste until they're taught to have good taste. I'm in that category. I was taught to have some good taste. I'm glad that somebody, you know, my friend that introduced me to great craft beer, my other friend that introduced me to great cheeses, etc., and down the line, I'm very thankful for them, but it wasn't something that I was just inherently born with.
Right.
Maybe I'm the kind of person that has a little bit more curiosity than an average person. I don't know. But I think that anything that doesn't fulfill the full capability and promise of great craft beer is not good for the category. So that might be one way to put it. So if you're doing anything, you, whoever the you might be, if you're doing something that doesn't fulfill the promise that the ideals and the highest ideals of what great craft beer can be, and instead you're trying to split it halfway down the middle, one, I'm disappointed in you personally, and two, I don't think you're doing the category any good. Now, of course, big brewers have been historically known for creating things known as category killers.
Sure. That's
not a new term. This isn't coming from me. And they are designed to help cause the public to have doubts about a category, questions about a category, or maybe even sometimes outright poor experiences with a category.
And that's sort of the theory of beer wars, right?
Beer Wars covered that, yes. Yeah.
So I guess maybe the other question then is, now that, you know, brewers like Stone and Sierra Nevada and New Belgium, Dogfish Head are maybe a little bigger than they were 10 years ago, I'm assuming we're, you know, kind of at a point where some of these brewers potentially get bought out. Do you see that as something that, you know, could happen in the future? And I'm not asking about Stone, but is that...
Sure. Well, you can ask about Stone.
I'm sure you guys get approached by bigger companies. That's, you know typical when you're doing well, so...
You know what's interesting? I've never been approached.
Never?
No.
Okay.
Never been approached. Now, perhaps that's because I generally send out signals that says, if you want to approach us, I'm going to tell you to pound sand.
Sure.
So you might as well save your breath, because I ain't interested. I got in this as a passion play, and that's what's going to keep me in it. So, did I mumble? So, you see, my generally antisocial behavior like that doesn't really keep the offers rolling in, and that's okay. And we now have more than 1,600 craft breweries in the United States.
Right.
More than 100 have opened up this year in 2010 alone. So if you look at that's the trend, yes, there have been some sales. You know, the brewery with the image of it being brewed in Hawaii, but really being brewed in Pacific Northwest sold, for instance.
Of course.
And you know, so but these were categories that are.
But those aren't as respected you know, that isn't like a well-respected brand as much as just a kind of shelf space, you know, land grab or whatever you want to call it, right?
Well, okay, you know what, you're not going to get me to even agree to that, although not off camera I might, but you know what, it just, I'll just leave the statement that I made as the strongest that I'm going to go on camera with, but, because I don't need to poke anything at anybody, but I just, you know, I am sometimes bothered by, I've always been bothered as a consumer and as a craft brewer when I am allowed to think this, and this is the reality. Mm-hmm. I like things when this is what I'm told or led to believe, and this is reality. And when they go like this, that's when I get engaged. Sure. And when they go like this, you know, whatever that shape looks like, you know, and they don't match up, perceived reality and actual reality don't match up, and then I find out as a consumer, I generally get pissed off.
Well, but that's a strategy that's worked in, let's say, food. I mean, there's a lot of like organic food companies, not to name them, that are owned by a much bigger, and people believe the sort of culture that might not really be there.
Right.
So I guess it's, you know, just a maybe matter of time before someone who's a big enough brewer is ready. You know, maybe the passion's not there or whatever, and a big brewer comes in and takes it as sort of.
It's going to happen, and we've seen some instances of it.
And I guess the question I was really just kind of getting at, not again trying to bait you on stone, but is that something that, you know, is a potential risk for the future of the category? Or, you know, we're really just trying to figure out where this all goes, right? I mean, craft beer is pretty mainstream at this point. Maybe not.
What is that level of mainstream? And we're still, you know, right around the 5%, maybe getting close to 6% mark. Depends on exactly how you
maybe
look at it.
Mainstream availability is a better word. I can go into kind of a subpar liquor store at this point. There's probably a couple faces.
Yeah, but
right?
A subpar liquor store where? If you're from Boston and you're in an urban center where better kinds of selections of a wide range of categories is generally available, then craft beer is going to be part of that. But sure. we go to the, you know, sort of the general populace, and is that really the case? Can I go to a grocery store in, you know, suburban Midwestern America,
or Walmart, I guess, is maybe a better, right? I mean, that's craft beer's not in there, right?
Well, actually, we were approached by Walmart last year to, you know, buy our beer. We never even made a sales call, so I found that quite interesting. So, you know, using Walmart as an example, I think they've been good at looking at, you know, the categories that they need to be involved in. But, you know, let's look at the broader scope and not be brand specific to a particular store. Sure. And just say, you know, how does the average American look at it and think about it? Now, there's some thought processes that say, okay, the average American, well, there's a clue for you right there that it's not going to be worth anything if the average American is involved, because the average American has no taste. And yes, I said that to you, people with heart disease and diabetes and processed food and fast food and commodity agriculture and CAFOs. Look it up. CAFO. It's important. You need to know about this stuff. You eat it and you're supporting that system. Do you really want to? No, you want to have the wool pulled over your eyes by some little pastoral imagery instead of actually owning up to the reality that's behind it. That's a choice you get to make. But as our spiritual leaders, Geddy Lee, no, not Geddy Lee, he sang it, but it was Neil Peart that probably wrote it. Anyways, you know, as Rush said, you know, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice, right? Okay, so I'm quoting rock and roll lyrics from the early 80s. Yeah, we all have this choice. Most people choose not to choose. They choose to be led by the nose and have the choice made for them. And that's what craft brewing and artisanal whatever is all about. All we do is say, look, we want to provide you with a choice should you choose to make your choices in an active way. Research a little bit, learn a little bit about whatever the category it is. It could be skateboards or craft beer or great cheeses, etc. And you know, then we're there for you because we've done the research, we've learned about our category, we've learned about our business, and we've decided that we're only going to do the best job that we possibly can. So, welcome.
So let's talk about the beer for a second.
I feel like I need a podium to pound on.
I'm gonna try not to bait you. We'll talk.
Okay, don't bait
let's
me
talk
away.
beer.
You can tell I'm getting a little feisty, so let's go.
Hey, well, I mean, passion is key to this, right? So, I mean, that's great and good to see it.
Yeah.
So, we talked to a lot of people who are more just want to talk numbers and stuff like that. So,